Tsundoku, noun. Language of origin, Japanese. Meaning, the act of acquiring books but allowing them to pile up unread.
01 may be a great-looking Kamen Rider in the beginning of the Reiwa era of
Superhero shows from Japan.
but it's also the beginning of a new era for retro cards, as Evercade Cartridge 01 is the first volume of games for the modern console devoted to classic titles for retro systems and new titles in that style. Blaze takes us back to what is essentially the beginning of the modern gaming era with titles dating back to the Atari 2600 and 7800 in this initial compilation. Let's open up every Evercade ever, the catalog of all things Evercade. Atari Collection 1 has 20 games to its name, but what's an Atari without Activision? Does Blaze manage to avoid the pitfalls of a bad collection while missing out on, well, Pitfall?
Comics, games, animation, and a variety of henshin credible superhero shows from Japan. Chad Bonin guides you through the Tsundoku Zone.
Centipede. Oliver the Elf uses his magic wand to blast away a giant centipede, spider, scorpion, and flea in this arcade port. Yes, that's the actual plot. Largely accurate for the era, Centipede is a classic of the coin-op scene. Missile Command. Aliens from Krytal are attacking planet Zardon, and you must command the Zardonian defense system to defend your cities with anti-ballistic missiles. Adventure. If you saw Ready Player One, you'll be familiar with the originator of the overhead journey genre. Nintendo made it golden with The Legend of Zelda, but Atari had your hero go on a quest to defeat dragons and uncover the Enchanted Chalice years before. Desert Falcon. An isometric shooter with an Egyptian twist, you'll search for lost treasure with superpowers you can activate with a double tap. Consider it a viewpoint remake. Crystal Castles. Bentley Bear has been trapped in the titular Crystal Castles and must escape in this isometric spin on classic Pac-Man gameplay. Tempest. What was once impressive vector graphics in the arcade is now disappointing pixel art on the 2600, but the gameplay is effectively the same. Slide left and right to shoot enemies coming down the corridor and go for a high score. After a few minutes of playing the title, you'll quickly see why this didn't make it to production and is only a prototype. Asteroids. As part of Cosmic Space Patrol, fly your ship around space and break up the asteroids that threaten your livelihood with photon torpedoes. Gravitar. This space shooter's most notable feature is adding gravity to the mix, and initially being limited to Atari Club members. The 2600 attempted to work around the arcade's vector graphics, but you can see how that played out. Canyon Bomber. Originally meant for the paddle controllers, you'll simply be dropping bombs into a canyon in this inverted game of Breakout, competing against the computer for a high score. Double Dunk. In one of the earliest basketball titles, try to beat the computer and make the most points with your shots. It's not NBA Jam, but it's a start. Steeplechase. In one of the earliest examples of something that would evolve into an endless runner, you need to make sure that your horse can jump over hurdles without getting caught up in them and losing time. Video Pinball. In this home adaptation of, well, pinball, it's not much more than can be said other than this direct quote from the instruction booklet. The object of the game is to keep the ball in play as long as possible and to score as many points as possible. Aqua Venture. The lost treasure of Atari's vault, this subnautical adventure never saw a true release decades ago, so Evercade's salvaging efforts are appreciated. As a diver, you're out to collect treasure and kill all sorts of sea life. Yar's Return. A sequel to Yar's Revenge, initially released on the Atari Flashback 2, this homebrew turned official title changes the formula by placing your character outside of the center of the screen, forcing you to shoot your way in. Sword Quest Earthworld. You'll need to track down the DC Comics release alongside this title's original cartridge to fully understand this game, the first in a trilogy. Your character will need to place certain items in certain rooms, but the game definitely overshot and is easily not a pick up and play title you think of when it comes to Atari. Night Driver. An innovative visual trick gives an otherwise lackluster racing game some notoriety. Using an all-black background, players feel as if they're racing at night with only the pylons on the side of the road as a guide. Alien Brigade. This side-scrolling shooter is one of the biggest titles released on the 7800 and features you aiming your reticle to save hostages from alien invaders. Make sure not to shoot civilians. Ninja Golf. Admittedly one of the most interesting titles to grace, well, any console, Ninja Golf has your stereotypical shuriken slinger swing his golf club, only to be forced to fight his way to the ball to continue. Giant frogs and monsters will show up in kung fu inspired segments in this odd mashup of genres. Food Fight. Charlie Chuck must fight his way to a melting ice cream cone, taking on 4 chefs who are out to stop him. Charlie can use the food scattered about to throw and stun the chefs. A bit of a bright spot in the collection, it's quick to pick up and full of character. Notably, Blaze Entertainment announced this as their first high score challenge, garnering the winner all of the titles they released in 2021. Motorpsycho. Visually impressive for the system, the game is not much more than Atari's attempt at Hang On, featuring your biker racing down on an uneven road. Limited in gameplay, it remains in 2020 as an impressive tech demo and not much more. There's no doubt that some great and quirky titles can be found in this collection, but for every food fight and ninja golf, titles that are immediately pick up and play, there's a sword quest that's too dense without doing any research, and a Tempest that just doesn't work when you no longer have the imagination of a child 4 decades past. Given Evercade's low prices and the inclusion in the premium bundle, you'll be able to find your money's worth in these games, but don't expect to find gold in every hill. That's it for the Tsundoku Zone, but the stack never ends.
This program is brought to you by the support of members of the Tsundoku Zone Patreon. If you enjoyed this episode and have the means, please consider joining to keep the show running and get an inside look on the production.
Everyone's gone Atari, the #1 video game.